Welcome to Passive Profit Partners Podcast, designed exclusively for ambitious professionals like you. Here, you'll find the valuable resources and insights you need to embark on a journey of intentional real estate investment, passive income, and achieving financial freedom. Our aim is to equip you with the spiritual, intellectual, and emotional tools necessary for your financial success. Join us in uncovering the treasures of wisdom and practical tools that have enriched the lives of our community. Tune in, not only to explore the mastery we've achieved, but also to engage in the pursuit of knowledge, continuously fueling success. This is your invitation to discover the solutions you've been seeking to enhance your financial frequency and boost your income. We're here to empower you, your financial journey, and provide you with insights and guidance you need to reach your goals. Welcome, dear souls, to an inspiring episode of Passive Profit Partners Podcast. Today, we're going to talk about money blueprint and financial frequency. Let's empower your financial journey now. I want to talk a little bit about financial frequency and your blueprint for finances. We all have an upbringing. We all have ideas that surround how we feel about ourselves in relationship to money. And when you grow up, you have these parameters, and it's like a box. And it tells you what you should and shouldn't do and should and shouldn't feel about money. You know, my parents, for example, were small business people. They owned their own business. And for those times, when I was born, it was a good time in the United States where growing up was simple, and my parents made $35,000 a year. That was considered a really good wage, and I felt like we were abundant and that I could have things and do things and take dance lessons and stuff, and I could. But as I grew older and I wanted to do something for myself, things had changed. The environment had changed. The inflation had changed. Lots of things had changed, and I needed to adapt my mindset to be bigger than that, because now $35,000 wasn't going to be enough. But there was this glass ceiling that I felt, maybe that's all I can earn. And I had to release that limiting belief and believe that I could earn more and that I would be worth more. So I started my own business. And fortunately for me, I was able to use these kinds of tools of expansive money mindset. And when I sold my first business, it was for $50,000, and I was earning $125,000 a year instead of $35,000. That felt so good to me. And I said, well, I can do this. I can do more. So then I had another business, and that's when I got into real estate and started doing real estate. And I had a franchise for real estate, and I grew it large enough so that I could sell it for 6 figures. So that was, again, an up level for me, an expansion out of where I was before to the next level. And now I'm ready for even bigger. I'm perfectly happy where I'm at because life is good, but there's always another level, and I want to keep learning and growing and show you how you can do that too. What is those thoughts that come up in your brain when people talk about money? And so when you talk about raising your prices, do you go, ooh, I can't do that? Or do you go, yeah, that's a great idea? And you feel the difference? When somebody tells you that they just invested $100,000 in something, do you go, wow, I could never do that? Or, wow, I would like to do that someday. What's your attitude towards money and the acquisition of it, the attraction of it to yourself? Maybe we take the cheaper plane fare because we feel it's a better value. But then maybe sometimes we want to be pampered a little bit, so we buy the business class, and it's all about how you feel in the moment about your finances and how you want to spend your money. I also believe that that money circulates, goes around and comes around. If it goes out, you spend it on bills and pleasure things, and it comes in and it ebbs and it flows, and you might have lower finances sometimes and higher others. Hopefully it's on an upward scale where it keeps going higher, even if it dips and higher, because let's say when you start a business and you go from zero, right? You're going from zero and you're trying to make $100,000, well, those first few months where you don't have hardly any clients or customers, you might not make any money for a week and then make money the next week. But as your client base builds and you get more people coming, and then the next time it doesn't go to zero, it goes, it doesn't go any lower than $500. And then the next time, $1,000 and on up to hundreds of thousands of dollars, again, by scaling. But it's your attitude towards allowing it to grow and not feeling guilty that it's, oh, I made too much, as versus, oh, I welcome that into my life. You always want to have a happy attitude around money. That's why I thank my money going in or going out. Ken Honda teaches this principle. In Japanese, arigato means thank you. And so if I'm spending money on something, Doug will come in and say, we need to put money in gasoline. Let's get some cash for that. And I kiss the money and I go, arigato. And then when it comes in, money comes into me, somebody gives me their happy check for something I've done of value for them, I also kiss the money and go, arigato, before putting it away in my wallet or my bank. It's all about frequency. It's all about resonance. So I would say we go back to the basics. Work on yourself and allowing yourself to feel good about you, about who you are, about what your true desires are and how you're going to reach them. When you have that good feeling inside yourself and you're connected to something bigger than you, it grows and you will attract the next level of people in your future, and it keeps going on. We are honored to have an outstanding expert today, Khairy Varre. Khairy, I'm so excited to have you here today. Thank you for coming.
I'm super excited. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So today we're going to talk about financial frequency and money blueprints, and I know that you are an expert in those areas, and I would love to hear more about your personal journey of how you started down that path.
Yeah, absolutely. So my name is Khairy Varre, and I actually currently coach 7- and 8-figure business owners in getting their business to the next level. So helping them make it self-led, make it scalable, make it sellable. And I always joke with even my siblings where I'm like, the life that I'm living right now and the type of work that I do right now, it makes no sense when you consider, my heritage and where I came from, and just even the type of work that I used to do before and where my mindset was. So it's definitely been a journey of figuring out myself, of figuring out what was blocking me from achieving specific things, right? I was stuck at a very specific ceiling, and we can talk about it afterwards, but I was stuck at a very specific ceiling for a long time. And it really took for me to shift internal and work on myself to break through it and really understand that the past and the fact that I joke with people all the time, between my parents, the two of them, they have 22 siblings. I come from a very, very big family, not a lot of money. And to look at around myself now, and, I just moved my family to Portugal. We have such joy in just living our day-to-day and creating our dream life, which is so different from everything that I saw beforehand. But it was a result of internal work. So I'm just obsessed about helping people up level, both on the business side, but also their inner work as well, just to be able to get there.
Wonderful. You sound really passionate about it, and I'm wondering if you can share some of your blueprint that other people might be able to use, a few steps that they could get started with.
Yeah. So blueprints, I guess I'll share maybe a few beliefs that I have that I know have helped me. And when I coach clients, I know that they help them in terms of getting to their success. Financial is one part of it, right? But I like looking at the financial as well, because that is like the easiest way for people to be able to quantify and measure their progress. Otherwise, it's a little bit harder. So one of the core beliefs that I have and that I had to work on was understanding first where I wanted to get to. And it took me a while to figure that out, because I went through this whole process of figuring out even who I was and why the specific goals that I had were the goals that I had. I realized that I had taken them from stuff my parents had imposed upon me, from the people around me, the type of life that they were leading, but I knew that internally those things were not my dreams. So I was constantly in this inner conflict for a very long time, until I decided to just shift and do what I wanted to do. I wanted a very specific career. I wanted to be geographically independent from the get-go. I wanted to make a lot of money, having impact on people, but figuring out what that meant was definitely the first step, because otherwise, no matter how much money you decide you want to make, I've seen too many people get to that dollar amount, hate it, burn it to the ground, and start from scratch, except now they're bruised, right?
Yeah.
So that is definitely one thing, is figure out what it is that you want to create. The money is going to be a secondary aspect, but I believe that if you want to create something that will be of benefit to humanity, that will create something of value to other people, you will in return get compensated with money. But the first piece is, what am I bringing to the world and how am I contributing? When I look at the clients that I serve that are not only able to make millions of dollars, but sustain creating millions of dollars, that sustainability is huge, because it comes from their purpose and their vision of wanting to impact other people. They just speak differently about their vision. It's not about having a boat and buying their dream house and doing these things that only have to do with themselves.
Yeah.
It has to do with impacting other people. And I think that is the first big shift that people need to have. And even for me, when I shifted, I remember once my grandmaster, so I'm a martial artist in my other life. I love martial arts. And one day my grandmaster was talking to me, and he's very blunt, right? Love it or hate it, he's very blunt. And he said, "You have great potential, but you're very selfish." And I was like, hold on, you're talking to Khairy. Khairy is not selfish. I am not selfish. But what he meant, and it was absolutely true, was that my goals were all about just me and my family.
Yeah.
It was not about helping other people or contributing in some way. And if you want to get to that next level, you have to shift from just you to giving. So that is one thing. And then the other piece too, that I think is really important, and people don't pay attention to this, is that people are stuck creating more of the same of their reality. Even when they feel like, oh, I'm reading these books, I'm taking these courses around financial abundance and manifesting and so on, it's just books. It's like if you were to tell me that you want to learn Japanese, but the only action you're taking is going through books that teach you about Japanese grammar. You're not going to become fluent. You're just not going to get it, right? The best way to learn a new language is what? Immersion. Getting into a space where you have to speak that language. It's the same thing for financial abundance. People stay in their same reality and hope to make money. Whereas the thing that I have found that works the best is to put yourself where there is already an abundance of money. And by default, you will tune into that frequency. Does that make sense?
That makes total sense. I completely agree with everything you're saying, because it does start from in here and you getting clear on what it is you want in life. And it can't just be about you. It has to be bigger than you, and have something outside yourself, like something you're passionate about, that you can create value for someone else, just like you said. And exactly, opening up yourself to ideas and not just having kind of blinders on about the way it can be done, but learning new things and opening up.
Yeah. And one of the easiest way that I share with people to do this, you don't have to right away go and do crazy things, but just get in the habit on a weekly basis to do something you've never done. Oh, that's a good idea. As simple as that. People tend to say, "Oh, I don't eat carrots," and that becomes an identity of someone who just doesn't eat carrots. But maybe that decision was made when you were 12 years old and you ate something that had carrot, you hated that meal, and it became your identity for the next 30, right? But how can you change the things that you think are you by just doing something you've never done on a weekly basis? Going to a restaurant, instead of choosing the same old meals that you always choose something different. Instead of going to this store to do your grocery shopping, go to a different place. Instead of sitting, let's say that you're taking a class, you're always sitting in the same spot, just do different. People tend to recreate their same reality because by default, they're keeping their same habits. So how can you just start today looking at your week, and how can you do just something different this week and the next week?
Even if it's just brushing your teeth with the other hand, trying something, anything. That's one of the things I love about living here in the Caribbean on the water is you're kind of forced into this adventure of non-habits. You have to adapt to the weather. You have to adapt to what's happening here. And I just love that. It keeps me on my toes.
Absolutely. Exactly. I love that. And then when it comes specifically to financials, the reason I start with that is because that already gets you out of the comfort of the day to day. For a lot of people, they don't know much about financials. They want to make money, but they don't know how money works, right? But already getting you to doing something that you're not used to is a first step. It gets you out of that identity, which hopefully, will also get you out of the identity of where you're stuck financially as well. And start looking at also where can you put yourself in environments where there is abundance. When I started doing this, I did all types of crazy stuff. I don't know if you want me to share the crazy stuff. Should I share the crazy stuff?
You can share the crazy stuff here. I'm sure everybody would love to hear it.
Yeah, no. So I was stuck for a very long time at $100,000. And it drove me crazy. I would literally make $97,000, and the following year I'd make 99, and I'll do 98 and 99.5, and I could just not pierce through. So the first thing was for me to realize where that came from, right? My vision was clear, but I was stuck there. So where that came from was that I thought since I was a kid that my dad made $100,000, and because I loved my dad to death, it made no sense in my mind to make more money than my father. So that was the whole story there. But once I identified that, it was then about, okay, but what does it even feel like or look like to make more than $100,000? So I started just doing things that I thought people who had a lot of money did, right? So I would go and eat at a specific restaurant. I'd go for coffee at the Ritz, just to have coffee at the Ritz and sit down there and look at what abundance felt like and looked like. I started investing more in specific masterminds and specific trainings just to be closer to the people who ran those masterminds and to be able to have those types of conversation and hear how they talked and how they behaved and how they made decisions, right? So it was all about getting me closer and closer and closer. To this day, there's a training that I'm in right now, and the main reason is to put myself in that pool of abundance where people are having the right conversations. So I really encourage your listeners to think about that and to look at what that looks like around you. You can be selective, right? Don't go into where there is abundance, but there's crime. We're not doing that. But you can figure out places that share your values, share your vision, share the type of impact that you want to have, but where there is already that abundance. And in some cases, it might be free. In some cases, you might have to pay. But at the end of the day, you want to be in those environments because the money is already flowing there. It's just that you're not where the money is already flowing. You're trying to create your own flow somewhere else. It's just much faster to do it that way.
Yeah. That's so beautiful, Khairy, and I resonate with it because I had the same issue with my parents who were they were in business for themselves and they made a certain amount of money and it felt unusual for me to make more money than that. So I had to go through that one as well. And I totally agree with you about surrounding yourself with the right people. And that's why I joined some of the masterminds that I'm in right now. So I can be around another new group of people that can introduce new ideas and start my thinking, bigger.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think at the end of the day, a lot of the reasons why people don't learn about money, like take the time to actually learn how it works, or they're stuck, in this rat race of trying and failing, is partly inner work. We're too stuck with our stories and the identity we've created for ourselves. So let's try and break that. I find that today, compared to if you had met me 15 years ago, it's a completely different person. I was so stuck in a mold, right? Anything that did not fit with the mold, I had literal visceral reactions to. Oh, you cannot do that. It is not ethical because it is not good because, right? And I had these really weird things that didn't make sense. And now I find that the identity, it's much more fluid. It's much more more confident in what I want to do and how I want to help. And it's much more focused on helping others. But also with that, it's more fluid. Just because I think something is true doesn't mean it is true. Just because, and so I let that fluidity really help me pivot and I'm okay with things changing, which is for a lot of people where we get stuck because we're not okay with things changing, even if we say we are. So that's one part. So doing the inner work then makes it easier to start learning about how money works and stop thinking that, oh, it's hard, or, oh, in my family, we've never done it well, so I don't really know how I would do it. So I'm just going to hope and pray that I get $1 million. That won't work, right? If you don't know, find a group that knows and go and get educated, whether it is in what you do, for example, in real estate or in other types of groups where people are working on creating abundance in different fashions. Explore initially. Go and figure out how different people are doing it, what resonates with you best and more, and then you start taking actions little by little in that direction, and you're going to get there for sure.
Yeah, totally agree. I am so not the person I was 20 years ago as well. I'm much more confident and centered within myself. I'm much more clear about who I am and where I want to go and the people I want to be around. And this journey is just beautiful that we're taking, right? And it's lovely to be here with you. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. And really for the people who, and I've met a lot of people like this. I don't know if you've seen that, but there's a lot of people who say they want it, but at the same time, they're afraid of it. Or there is something in the back of their mind that is afraid of them changing to become a person who becomes wealthy and all the problems that it might bring or whatever. And at the end of the day, my thing is a lot of 99.9% of you are amazing human beings. What if wealth was in your hand? How much better off would this world be? What if everyone listening to this was a millionaire, multimillionaire, and could impact the world in a positive way? How amazing would this world be? That's the type of world that I want to live to my children, right? And so that's why I do the type of work that I do, helping 7- and 8-figure business owners crush it even more because they have a huge heart. They want to impact the world in a positive way. And so that is my way of contributing, just giving them the best that I can to help contribute to their mission. And that always comes back as well as in a financial way to me as well. So really think about that, for everyone listening, think about that. What if you did have it? What would you do? How would it change for you? And how would it change for the world? And let that guide you towards, and keep you moving forward, even when you're not sure, it feels hard. It is definitely worth it.
Like you said, you can play a little game with it and go have coffee at the Ritz and pretend like you do have that money and spend that money in your mind, and it would get you can spend it over, and you can take $10,000 or $100,000 and spend it over and over again, how would I spend that? Some people can't even imagine having $100,000, much less spending it as disposable income, right?
Oh my God, you just reminded me something that I did. That was one of the crazy things that I did for just to get my mind playing the game of having money. So I downloaded those apps for budgeting, just any random app will do. And in the app, I would deposit every day. So the first day I deposited $100, fake money, right? Fake money. You don't have to transfer that. $100 in there, and I had to force myself to spend the $100 virtually. So I had to go online, find the stuff that I would buy. The next day, 200. The next day, and increase like that. And actually, the way I did it was 100, then 1,000, 10,000. So let's say that you're doing it that way. Initially, I was just buying stuff. But when you get to the point where you have to spend $30,000 in a day or $100,000 in a day in this fake game, you start to look at things that are much bigger than you, charities or putting kids to school or, things that are much bigger. And I would just force myself to play that game, and I was playing it every day. I had to deposit the fake money and I had to spend the fake money on specific things, not general. If it was a charity, I had to find which charity I would give it to and process the actual transaction in the fake transaction in the app. And that completely opened my mind to what it feels like to have that type of money, and especially playing that game over a period of, a few weeks or whatever. So that's a really cool game to play.
Yeah, that's perfect. And when you get to a certain point with that money, like you said, you're not buying things anymore. You're looking for other ways to spend that money. And, my encouragement to the listeners is to invest it in something that is an appreciating asset rather than a depreciating asset. Instead of buying a new car, buy a rental home,
Exactly. So yeah, those are just I could talk about this for so long. There's so many.
I know we could keep going, but I think we're out of time, and it's been so lovely. And thank you again so much.
Thank you for having me. This was great.
Passive Profit Partners is a private equity firm dedicated to building genuine wealth through purpose-driven real estate investments, delivering above-average returns for our investors while diversifying their portfolios. Our real estate investment projects create a positive ripple effect in the world, fostering fair employment, supporting entrepreneurs, and elevating community prosperity. Does this resonate with you? Answer that call by investing in one of PPP's projects. For more information, visit our website at www.passiveprofitpartners.com. And if this conversation has provided you with valuable insights, please don't hesitate to reach out. It would be an honor to connect with you and confirm that our message is making an impact. Subscribe and give us a like to stay updated with our latest developments.